I believe that there's someone out there before the lockdown who wanted to start, a coffee shop, or wanted to enter the coffee business. But now they're uncertain because we don't know whether there's going to be lockdown, how far the pandemic is going. So I want you to look into the camera and from your perspective, give advice to that person who had almost started but stopped. Should they go on with the idea to enter the coffee business, or should they hold off and wait to see what happens?
Well, to you, I just want to say to you that the idea never dies. It belongs to you. So you need to find a way of how well you can package it, If you have your idea and you know it was going to be well implemented, stay with your idea. Make sure that you implement it after the lockdown, even after the pandemic, because believe me, things are going to be much better after this pandemic.
Yeah, and lastly, I just want you to look into the camera. I believe that there are certain clients of yours, or there's that one particular client who will follow you no matter where you go.
Yeah.
Okay, and they haven't seen you in a while, and if the lockdown is lifted, they'll be coming back to the coffee shop. I want you to look into the camera and tell them why they should come back.
Well, why you should come back? First, we miss you in our coffee shop, so we miss that experience. But secondly, we want you to have the best coffee. We want you to have the best products that you're taking in, because this is food and beverages that we are handling, or we're talking about something that can complicate your life. So we want you to have the best of the best in your health body system.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Coffee Messiah has said it himself. We want you to have the best of the best. And on House of Talent Television, we want you to have the best of everything. This was the Coffee Break Show with me, Ateng Emmanuel, and Amon Mukisa in the studio. Catch us again next time on House of Talent Television on all our social media platforms. Have a beautiful day, a beautiful morning, beautiful afternoon, or a good night wherever you're watching this from. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Jinpo Olowo. Thank you for watching House of Talent Television. I love to inspire people. I love to talk about my experiences and how God has been able to use me in the different exposures. And through the leadership, through change management and transformation, I've been able to do a couple of things in my life. Now, are you a kind of person who is tired of your status quo? Do you want your situation to change? Are you tired of what is going on in your life? Change is a fact of life. We've all been through experiences in the last couple of months that have taken us to a place where we need to do something about our lives. We need to change whatever is going on. So if you have not piled up investment for yourself, you need to do that. If you've not done businesses to hold your family in future, you need to do that. Are you thinking of full-time employment? You need to be thinking about your life after employment or your business in the next couple of years. So if you want us to chat, if you want us to talk about this, please get in touch with us at SIL Uganda on number 0772443085, or check our website www.siluganda.com, or on all the social media handles. You can hook me up or Facebook, that is Jinpo Olowo, on Instagram, Jinpo Olowo, and on Twitter and LinkedIn. Then we can chat a way forward with you. We can help you, we can coach you, we can walk with you this journey of financial freedom. Thank you.
People at the moment are struggling to understand the older generation because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They've moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying, I have a foot amongst the millennials.
Yeah.
And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and in the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand.
Yes.
Yeah, remember Prince?
Yes.
Prince
It was like the Psalms. When you look at David, he's passing through hard things, but then he's willing to talk about them. So music allowed me to be real, authentic. To God, he uses song to minister to me. So it was more, it's personal, I can relate to it, and he's helping me overcome through that, to be able to be used as that vessel that delivers this message, which I know that I've just borrowed from heaven. My music statement is to write music that will be able to speak to the heart, soul, and spirit, restoring the goodness. You know, when in the Bible it says, and he looked at it and it was good. The message that I have, there are 10 songs. They will be specifically invoking that God has already said, that we have to embrace as his image, to restore goodness in this world. Music is not what defines you. For me, that was a great revelation, that my identity is more in God, in who God calls me. If I can inspire you also to use your gifts and talents to make a difference, I would have played my part in this world.
I will rise and rise. Now is the time. Rise and praise you, Lord.
People at the moment are struggling to understand the older generation because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They've moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying, I have a foot amongst the millennials.
Yeah.
And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand.
Yes.
Remember Prince?
Yes.
Prince.
Creativity is at the heart of everything we do. Every day we wake up in the morning, we have to think about creating something. You have to think about what you're going to do, how you're going to go about it. What are the problems that you want to solve? How do you turn around the negativity around you by creating a product that will solve that problem? Do you see problems around you? Do you know how to solve the problem? There are people who wake up every day and every single day in the morning to think about the ideas that will change the world. They are called creative minds. Everyone is born with a DNA of creativity, and everyone has the DNA of creating something that will change the world. Are you thinking? Are you creating? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creative Industry Talk. My name is Okila, and this week on the program, we focused on the audacity of hope to continue creating, even in this pandemic situation, is something that we are discussing today. My name is Okila, and my guest this morning, not just a guest, but also a long-term friend, is a creative mind, the man who has been doing it and is a resident panelist on the Creative Industry Talk, back from the outside countries, as we say it in Uganda, and is now here. Faisal, welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Eddie.
How are you, Faisal?
I'm good.
Great, and you've been traveling quite a bit of late. Would you like to tell us the experience of traveling as a creative mind? What are you seeing, and where are you, how are people doing it?
I think, what traveling really helps is it opens you up to new ideas, to see that people are not sleeping, are not worried about yesterday or tomorrow, but they are really thinking about the future. And when you see what is actually surprising, that when you get to the flight, you realize that there's been a lot of changes done around mobility or moving or flying. And it's exciting to see our technology is stepping in. And I realize that there's a lot of new artificial intelligence being used for the safety of the people, but also for the comfort of those who are traveling, to be not so much in contact with other humans. So for me, it's really exciting to see that when you arrive at different airports, you feel like you're managed by robots somehow. And it's fascinating, but also it scares us who are still struggling with the opportunities to work.
Yeah.
I love the idea of creativity in terms of getting work done by artificial intelligence, but also you worry about those that are not able to get jobs, that they are going to be running out. The pandemic has really given us a challenge to see that we are going to be working differently and engaging people differently. So this whole moving around is really, for me, it gives us personally a challenge to start thinking a bit more on how do I sustain my career. Otherwise, I'll run out. I might be replaced by a robot.
Yeah. Wow. We want to just take a moment to welcome every one of you guys all across the world to the Creative Industry Talk. And the Creative Industry Talk exists as a platform for us to have a conversation around the creativity and around the creative minds and how we're creating things that solve problems in the world. Faisal, what a moment right there, from your travel. I mean, I just wanted to ask you a question. Do you see the sense of us failing to get back to where we used to be, where human-to-human connectivity is really very much needed?
There's a yearn of people really, wondering what is better at the moment. It also comes in with the different age groups. Some people who are older enough trying to keep away from other people for their own safety, but those who are young are really yearning to have more people to see, to talk with, as it was before. And it's that conflict, I think, at the moment. But what I think, and coming from an events organizing perspective, I think we are going to be entering into an era of hybrid interaction, whereby we've built an audience now during this period of COVID, our online audience, that when things get back to normal, inshallah, we'll find that we can't leave them alone. We can't leave them out of what we are doing. We have to keep them. They want to keep engaging because we've invested so much in keeping that audience. So I think what is going to happen is that we are going to continue with the physical interaction as well as the online engagement of our audience. So there's going to be a very much hybrid version of doing things.
Wow. You who are watching the show from anywhere across the world, we want to hear your opinion. Do you think that the world will ever go back to where we used to be? Do you think human-to-human interactions will ever get back to where we used to be? Do you think we're going to have physical contacts again? Hugs, you know? A world where there is no hug, there is no shaking hands would be a very difficult world. Even animals relate to each other, and that would be very difficult for us going forward. But Faisal, let's dive into our discussion, from that recap you've given us about your experiences driving and traveling across the world. Today's topic, if we may put the topic up there, is about how do we have the audacity to continue, the audacity of hope to continue creating even in the pandemic situation. And I'm talking about the creativity of us thinking about the things that we need to do. Can you just keep the topic up, team, so that we can just have a moment to recap on that one? The Creative Industry Talk topic today is about the audacity of hope to be creative in this pandemic situation. We're talking about the creative mind. The audacity there is that the ability of a human being to continue thinking creativity, to continue thinking ahead of time, and the hope that if I continue to create even in this pandemic situation, I will still be able to be rewarded for my creativity. I will pay. What are your thoughts on that one, to start with the topic itself?
I think, it's a good thought, and based on the conversations that we've had around from different creatives, there has been a very strong, despite the odds and whatever is going on with the artists, many of the creatives have really continued to create work. So they have had that resilience, they have had that audacity, as you can call it, to continue being, keeping their minds busy at work and developing content. The challenge is, what are we going to do with that content? Because most of it is not, I don't know how it's going to be realized. Of course, there are different processes of creativity or different disciplines for theater, for dance, for music, for film. I think the challenge will be, as much as it is being created, how are we going to realize it? What is the next step of this process of creating work? How are we going to have it shared with the rest of the audiences and the people that enjoy it? But it's a very strong will for artists to continue really working. Not all of them, though. I mean, I think some of them have going through challenges, mental challenges or depressions, and not all art forms are able to create content at home. Others need to be out there in the field, and they can't because they're locked down, they are stuck in their homes. So there is that also balance in terms of, like, those who are able to, the writers are writing, the playwrights are writing, but there are those who have to go into the field and their content is really based on them being out there. They can't, and I think that's a big challenge.
Wow. Faisal, talking of the mental capacity and the mental situation of artists during the creation process, A lot of people are finding it very difficult. They have been in a lockdown for so long, and the creative people are not good at being controlled in a very confined area.
Yeah,
Some
like
are running,
tigers,
but-
you know. Yeah.
Yes, how is that going from your interactivity with the artists that you've met all across the world from the areas you've been since the lockdown started?
I mean, we've been, we are in a very unfortunate situation as a people in this country, because you know, I think whereas the government supports the vulnerables, that those that get the support, I think the creative arts are not really looked at as the vulnerable. They don't have to be, because we are creatives, we can figure out things. But in such a situation where people are really locked down, I think they needed support more than anything before, you know. And I think the confinements that they're living in are very challenging, because most of them, you know, live in shared rooms, you know, shared homes. There is not really much space for them to feel free. You know, there's not also no room for recovery, you know. You know, sometimes when you are in a situation like this, you need some space. You need to be alone. You need to be somewhere to be yourself, you know, or to figure out things, have your own moment. And some of the places when, you know, the way we live is difficult. You know, you have your wife, kids and stuff, and you are all in a two-roomed house. There is no space, and you can't walk, even if you try to go and jog around. So that situation is really making more people, I think, mentally sick. And the other unfortunate thing is that, and I don't think there's any plan for that. I think we've talked about that before, the plan to help people to get through this mental problem. Like they did in the North after the war. After the Coney War, they had some reconciliation things, they had some treatment centers for war victims. I think we need to treat this pandemic as a war, and we also need to think for the people and say, okay, whereas we are raising money for COVID treatment, for COVID vaccines, we also need to raise money for the after COVID, you know, psychological treatment of people. Not only artists, but also even doctors or nurses or health or essential workers, whoever it is. I think there is that need for to prepare for the people to know that after this, even now, people are going through a lot. And I think it's something that we need to consider, and that's why I think it's also important to be careful with people. When you're engaging with them, don't push people too much, because you don't know what's going on. Some people might have not had lunch or dinner for 2 or 3 days, and then you're there telling them what to do, you know? So,
Wow. Well, Faisal, we're going to take a small break, you know, to just, you know, have coffee. But as we take this break, we are discussing the audacity of hope for people to continue creating and being creative in this pandemic situation, even when it looks bleak and, you know, a total dark reality. They are still creating, and we want to come back and have that discussion here with you. And we also want you to get online and actually be part of this discussion. Send us your kisses and disses. We want to know, are you creating? If you're creative, how are you handling the mental state? Are you still creating? If you're not, what are you doing in this time? Are you changing your career, or you're saying, no, I will continue to push my work out? And how are you publishing your work, or how are you getting your work out? Ladies and gentlemen, we're going for a break, and when we come back, we want to hear from you, you know, how you're doing it. This is the Creative Industry Talk. People at the moment are struggling to understand the older generation, because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They have moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying, I have a foot amongst the millennials. And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and in the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand. Remember Prince? Yes. Prince
Welcome back to the program. My name is Okila, and my guest this morning is Faisal KIWEWA, who is the founder and, of course, the artistic director of Bayimba International Foundation. You know, here in Kampala. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
You have been traveling quite a bit, and the first part of the show, you were telling us your experience of what you have been seeing wherever you are in your travel. And the topic of discussion which we want to really dig deep into right now, Faisal, is about the audacity of hope for people to continue creating and being creative in this pandemic situation, even when we're in the lockdown. And we want everybody out there to participate. Audacity of hope to be creative. Are you creating work? And if you're creating work, how is that working out? Where do you publish the work? And Faisal, what would you say to the people, or what would you say to the person who is trying to be creative in this time but does not know where the work should be? Should they continue to be working, by the way?
Yeah, to be honest, I think what the pandemic has really given us, it has gotten some folks out of the cages, out of the shadows, out of their rooms. I've seen folks who I've not seen for a long time. They're like having online shows, like they're having talk shows, and I'm like, what?
Yes.
This guy's still there? You know, I think it has really helped because people have sat home. I'm also one of them. Who like during the first lockdown, I was like, I am not doing anything online. You know, remember? For the whole year, I didn't do anything from March 2020 to March or to May actually this year. So I was like, I don't want to do anything online. But then I realized, why not? You know, I think I still have something to offer. I can do something, and I came out. So I've seen my friend David Kaiser also coming out with Doreen doing a talk show. I see Nabunjo doing a talk show. I'm like, this is actually interesting because people have started to realize that you cannot just sit down, even if you're just creating content for the future. You need to share something. You need to come out and show people that you're still alive. Otherwise, we will think that you were taken by COVID. But also, I think what I realized, like when I was attending a festival in Germany, I think last month, one of the things I realized that was very interesting is that people find ways to get themselves, active. And the most fascinating thing was, like, we attended a premiere of a production, it was a puppetry production that was done by the Bax Theatre, Puppetry Theatre from Cape Town. And they had 35 people who are working on this production. It's a very beautiful puppetry production. I think 2.5 hours. And this production was supposed to premiere at the Theatre de Welt in Düsseldorf. So the cast had, taken the entire people. They had to do the production and then fly to Düsseldorf and then premiere it at the opening. It was the main event, the main production for the festival. They had put in a lot of money. And then I think a week before they were flying out, first of all, South Africa went into a lockdown. Second, they were all tested with COVID. So they could not leave the country. But look, the festival had organized, they could not cancel the festival, they could not cancel the opening. So what they did, they had to stream the entire production and they had to invest. So it was a whole new invention for them to sit in the artscape in Cape Town to do the entire production and then stream it live. As they're doing it with the whole new setup of technology, cameras, inserts and all that stuff. And we were seated in a hall in Düsseldorf, 250 people watching a production that is being done live. They didn't have an audience, but we were this way, they were that way. And they made it happen. And we all enjoyed it. I didn't even feel that they were not there. I felt like, because it was a very big screen and we're all seated enjoying it together, they were also doing it. So it was really, for me, a very interesting invention. And I see the future where we're going to go. The hybrid engagement of content nowadays, that we cannot deny people now that we are going to sit back and wait and relax. I think the invention, the new approach to work has to come in with challenges, but also with creativity and innovation and openness and flexibility. So we have to figure out how to continue working.
Wow. Faisal, I mean, this is a very interesting point you're bringing out there. A lot of people who help the creative minds in their process of creativity. And if you're wondering who we are calling actually a creative mind, is the person who think of a problem or sees a problem and create a solution to close the gap that is brought about by that problem. And we're talking about creative designers, people who design marketing and communication posters or flyers, or they put this thing together for you to know the information about that particular product or about that particular brand. I mean, you see billboards out there. There are people who think creatively about how to bring that message to you. And we're talking about people who go into the studio, sit down to write the song, and find somebody with a nice, beautiful voice or handsome voice to actually sing that song and bring it out. Those are called creative people. They think creatively on how best they can bring it out. Everybody is able to think, but not everybody is able to be creative in their process of doing things. Yeah. And we're talking about people who design cars. They sit down, think about how this car is going to look like. Okay, I mean the seats, the driving, the steering wheel, and the tires and all of the things, so that when you sit in this car, you feel comfortable while driving this car. Those people are still creating stuff.
Yeah.
The question is, will the world continue to consume this thing from them if this situation of the pandemic continues, Faisal?
Yeah, it depends on what you're creating and for what audience. I mean, look at what Richard Branson did, going to space for 1 hour, and now they are opening it up for the rest of the world for $280,000 to go and just spend an hour in space, So I think we can't stop innovating, because the need for products and services are always going to be there.
Yeah.
The need for minds to see different things. We love, as humans, we love color, we love to be challenged, we love to be surprised. So we cannot just, get comfortable with what we know or what we have. And for me, that's one of the challenges I find here. I talked about some time ago about how I'm always surprised to see that we still use the same tampeko from Mukwano, the same type of tampeko that we used when we were kids in the 80s, So I find it challenging that they haven't innovated new things, There is nothing new coming out of this company. And when I try to investigate, I was trying to invest, I still want to invest into product design, and not for just clothes or whatever, but I'm really looking into industrial products, and for creative processes, and also the research on that. How do you create products from your local materials? Like the things we have a lot of wood. How can we create products from wood, not just timber for making plastering or whatever, but how do we start being innovative in a way we use products? When you look at people who are designing things for purposes of use, some of them are not very popular, but the thought behind it and the process of putting it out for the public to use it and make it useful, it's very exciting. And I find that really not so much here. We are very much driven by quick things, and that's where the challenge I find. You find people want to make something quickly because they need to survive. We are always in the survival mood. We are always in the rush to make money, rather than sitting down and relaxing. Like the scientists, they sit down, they can spend 5 years looking for a dose, leave alone the COVID one, but people can spend 10 years researching the treatment, and of course it takes a lot of money, a lot of patience, but you come out with something new, something innovative. So here we've not been very lucky to have this, but you also don't blame the people, because there is no support system. When for doctors, they are always supported to, they have research budgets, and they sit down and they are not worried about rent or kids going to school. But for creatives, there is no support system. So you cannot put your life for 5 years researching about new shoes, because you want to put a product out, yet you don't have someone to pay for your rent that day. So this is where the challenges are, and we need to investigate how can we create some sort of structures and systems that are going to help our young people, our creative minds, to be at ease when they are working. I was talking to one of my friend, Goreti Chomhendo, and I was asking her, what are the challenges of writers in Uganda? And she told me that one of the biggest okay, not the biggest, maybe the best gift you can give a writer is space. And I'm like, what do you mean space? Like, yes, she said like space. Get Eddie who wants to write a book, take them to Lunkulu, tell them you're here for 6 months, you don't need to worry about rent, you don't need to worry about food, write, and they will do their job. But they don't have that space here because they're worried about this, they're worried about that, no one is there to support them, no structure, no financial backup. So that's where we are really, really not settled. And then we are hit by this COVID that is not ending. So you find us in a cycle that is never ending with our problems. Yeah.
Faisal, that's a very good perspective right there. I just want to take you to, if there is no one thinking for you as a creative mind, and I'm talking about creativity from lawyers are becoming more and more creative. Lawyers are going to become, they're moving from the traditional law practice as a legal attorney that goes in court to represent a person or an individual, a community, to now cooking food. And they're saying, I need to cook food and I can make very good food. That's being creative, you know? Yeah. And the way they present the food, we have a very prominent lawyer right now who is cooking food, and he seems to be making a lot more money from cooking food than the legal practice itself. Now, the question is, do you need somebody, or does one need somebody to give them hope to continue creating because somebody is going to buy? Or you can see a gap in the market like Senson is always doing. He's made open shoes from the tires, used vehicle tires, bags from the tires. I find him very creative. Yeah. And are there people who will always buy that? Yes. And how much is it? Are there the market for it? Do you need somebody to take you somewhere to create that? Or you can actually have the hope to say, if Faisal is dressing like this, I think I can give Faisal this hope to be able to have this. What do you think?
I think, you know, the difference with professionalism and passion is whereby you find a lawyer who has a, you know, a bar, he passed the bar and he can practice law, and then he's like, I like to cook food, my passion is in cooking. If it doesn't work, he has a backup plan. He will go back to law and study. And there's a difference with the artists. Some of us are not, you know, we studied art, that's it. And that's where we fall, or we did study art, but we are doing it. There's not so many backup plans. However, I think what COVID has done has really opened up so many people. I've seen many artists or creatives who are venturing into other opportunities. They're really trying to cultivate other ways of earning revenue. And it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. But I don't think the issue is like people need to be inspired. Oh, yes, people can be inspired. Eddie, you can inspire people like you do with except me, you failed to get me to the gym. Someone told me today that, oh, Faisal, you go to the gym. I'm like, no. Yes. But you inspire people to work out, to get their bodies physically fit. And that's, it can also be a creative way. But maybe you could say like, if Eddie is doing this gymming and stuff, like what can I create for him to be as an artist? What can I get him to be that is Ugandan, that is me, that can others can start?
For example, by workout t-shirts?
Exactly. And recently, I was talking yesterday, was it yesterday or a few days ago, I was walking around, and then I realized that these days you find many women wearing tight, what do you call them?
Yes,
those tight shorts.
Yes.
Which it was never like this before. You know, women always covered themselves. They didn't like anything. Now you find them on the street jogging with their it's a new way that they are feeling free. There's more freedom and also confidence for women
for whatever they are wearing, which is created by an artist.
Exactly. Yeah. So I really think, and you find they are trying also to find those that are more designing. So it's not even about the body, but it's also about the design of what they are wearing, the formation. And I like it because before, I think 10 years ago, it was very rare to find a woman walking on the streets like this. Yeah. Now they go to town anywhere, you find them in the mall in this kind of dressing. So how do artists think about this new approach to people? Do they study? Do they do
look
research?
At the trends?
Do they do research and see how are people behaving? And but also the challenge is that when I was doing a research paper for a German government, and then they asked me about the leisure culture in Uganda, and I could not find statistics. Like, no, it's not there. Even when I went to the Uganda Statistics Bureau
of Statistics,
and I asked them, what are the statistics of the leisure? What's the leisure culture in, let's say, for example, in Kampala? What do people spend on? We don't know, and that also helps to inform people who are planning, like the KCCA. They need to know how much people spend in the bars, in the restaurants, on the concerts. What do they eat? What do they like to eat? Where do they like to spend their time between 5 and 6? So that when you're planning the city, you can understand that between this time and this time,
they like to go in this place.
People like to go to this place. Maybe not a particular place, but people like to do this. People like to go to they like this kind of music. So that you have an idea of your city and how people use it. And that's when you're adding into new buildings or authorizing new buildings, you can advise people who are building, not to just build malls and stuff. You can tell them, you know what, according to the trend of people, the way they go out, the way they use the city, the way they engage, these are the things that we would recommend for you to add into your building. You know what I mean? So it's also an issue of research that maybe artists or creatives or even authorities don't put in place first to say that this is how we need people to do. This is where the trend is going. This is how we can help our city, our population to grow. So it's a mix of not being very, thoughtful in the processes, as well as not having the capacity maybe to do what is needed. Yeah.
Well, Faisal, we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we want to look into what you have just said, which is very interesting. There are a lot of opportunities when you're talking that I see coming. But are the artists taking advantage of this? Are you, as a creative mind, taking advantage of it? Are you advising the authority, or are you creating a product that will attract the authority to actually fund your project or to be part of the consumption of your project? Stay right there. Creative Industry Talk. We'll be right back after this break.
Attack you, they vilify you, and the goal is to weaken you financially, is to weaken your owner. These are slanderers. So I'm glad that someone would stay up at night to ask and learn about me. And I pray that in the next 2 months, because I know many Ugandans who travel overseas, when they go there, one of the things, because the media has been so much, and Sam Kutesa, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, has really not done a good job. He has dropped the ball on this issue. Why? So many of us are being accused of being gay killers, including me. You've just heard that person. Uganda is being accused that we kill gays, which actually is absolutely untrue. And because of this, it has affected our tourism. It affects people who go overseas to do work or study. It affects whenever you go to a conference. Hi, my name is Okila. Oh, where are you from? I'm from Uganda. Oh, you are the gay killers. And then you begin to describe. So one of the things that I've done is I've written a book, which should be coming out. I know that I keep saying the same thing, but the work of doing a book takes a long time, and I wish I could be supported. You know, many people who write on this subject, like Sylvia Tamale, she's supported by the Rockefeller Foundation, Carnegie Foundation. There is money.
Okila is a very big brand, and as we go on, we will probably discuss the things we're trying to do to see that things change for the better.
Good. Sean, on the CEO bench, for everyone who is following, we're live on our YouTube studio where we actually streaming from. So YouTube studio, for everybody asking for a link, is actually House of Talent UK.
Confident in themselves and what they are offering. I think that's the biggest problem. Like, women will easily settle for a less pay than men would.
Mona Onyeitodeke goes on to say, or I think this is a comment, says, I didn't know that beauty products are taxed at 60%. Whoa.
They are. I pray that changes soon, but they are.
So with that challenge of 60%,
setting up the company, you're doing tours all across the world. You know, a personal account is great, but how these things are taxed becomes important for you know, for your business later on. As soon as you cross that threshold of 50 million a year, you know, you're now in
the interest become more
share. Yes.
Welcome back to the program. My name is Eddie Okila, and this is the Creative Industry Talk. In the studio is Faisal KIWEWA, who is the founder and artistic director of Buying International Foundation, who is also about to launch a new product called Umva Creatives.
Yeah, Umva Creatives.
We want to know, you are creating, the audacity for you to continue creating and the hope that we will buy into your product at this hour. It's quite amazing. Well, others are stuck and don't know what to do. But again, you mentioned something that I want to go back to before we went for a break, which was people need to look at available opportunities that is there and don't wait for somebody to come and tell you, please design for me this or please create for me this. As a creative mind, you've got to think about what is the opportunity that is available for me in this space, in this time, in this situation, in this season. Many of them are quite very depressed at home, and some have a lot of hope. I've met so many people who said, I'm recording fantastic music now from the recording artist. I've met people like Paolo Akiki who says, I'm having fantastic painting right now. Producer at gallery says, I'm thinking I work from home, so I see the leaves on the road, I see the traffic, so I'm creating a lot more things right now. And so I asked him, so the audacity of hope that when you create things in this time, people are going to buy is amazing. And are people going to buy this thing? Yes and no. So Faisal, back to you. You're also having the hope that if you launch Umva Creatives, and we want to first of all know what is Umva Creatives and what is the platform all about. Do you have this artist who have this hope to continue creating the art pieces that are going to go selling? What is Umva Creatives to start with?
Umva Creative is a platform that we've been working on since April last year, when we went into the lockdown. There was that whole...
Was it born out of lockdown situation?
There was that whole, period of supporting artists, we needed to support ourselves because the government supported the essential people, and then we realized that the artists, no one came in to support them. So everyone was looking for food, rent, and stuff like that. And then we realized that actually, even if you give someone 10 kilos of posho and 5 of beans, for how long are they going to survive on these things? So we realized with my team and realized that we need to do something that is, in case this lockdown is over, and if there is another pandemic that will come after, we are not leaving artists to stay without earning anything. So that's why we started this platform. And Umva is a kind of like a rebellious system, which is really looking at Umva itself. It means a universal method for value access, meaning that we want to make sure that all the artists have access to money, direct revenue, without middlemen. And this is also a very good, so it's kind of like a cryptocurrency software that we've built. You get if you sell your painting, you get your cash. No, there's no middleman trying to do what, take 40% at whatever. You're transacting with your own revenue.
Say for example, if I want to buy an art piece from Faisal KIWEWA, am I able to order direct and say yes?
You order that because you see the piece, you see it on the platform, then you order it. The artist gets their money instantly. Not again, Faisal send me a check or invoice. No, the money comes. So what happens when you get to the platform, you register, and when you register, you get a bank account. So that bank account is all where your money goes. immediately it's paid for. So, but that's on the end of the artist. And then on the end of the buyer, you can also just sign up as a buyer, and then you put, when you sign up again, you get a bank account. So you can transfer your money from your bank or Stanbic or whatever, Barclays, and you put on that account. So what it helps if you're a buyer is that every time you need to buy something, you're not going to pay these transfer fees, so you transfer your money at once. And then when you're paying within the system, you're not going to be charged for transaction fees. That's what we're trying to do. And you can also pay with mobile money, you can pay with PayPal, you can pay with bank transfers. So all these systems, we have integrated everything so that we don't leave anyone out. But that's on the end of the buyer and the seller. And then, why did we set up this UMVA Creatives? Is that we realized that when you walk around, artists create work. And then I've been having this conversation with my friend Margaret Kafero, and we're like, when you go to all these embassies of Uganda that are abroad, we have 37 embassies and 37 residencies, official. But you'll never find a Ugandan art piece at any of the residencies or any of the embassies. Unless if one person or one individual just, bought whatever, those things they buy on the street, you find Chinese works. And I'm like, this is an embassy. You should have at least some of the works from Uganda. So the platform is going to help to bridge that gap, whereby if you don't have money to buy an art piece, you can rent it. You can say, Eddie, you have a creative industry show, and I want to have a different background every week. You just go on the platform, rent the work, it's delivered to you, you use it, you take it back, you pay, and that money goes direct to the artist. So that in that way, you have an opportunity to have a different scene every time you're doing your show. You can do it for your office, you can do it for your home, you can do it for events, those people who have events or weddings or functions where they need to have different works. And also the other thing is that many people don't have Ugandan art. We are now trying to figure out the costing of how much can we sell this work? Because you have to value. The pricing is very difficult. I'm telling you, I've been having this conversation for like a month. How much do we price this work? But we are trying to figure out that how can Ugandans afford to buy this work? Because we all love art. In one way or the other, we just don't know. Many people don't know that they love art. That's why you find them buying fake flowers, they buy fake Chinese stuff. But if they have an opportunity, like you go to Jumia and order food at your home, you go to a platform where you can just look and say, maybe this wall doesn't look nice. Let me have a piece of Mona Lisa or a Daudin or a Paul Ndema or a Samson. This is what we are trying to do, and I think this platform is going to go. This is just for the 1.0 version. The 2.0 is going to include music. It's going to include other used products like an old guitar, or you want to buy a set of drums, you want to sell your stuff and things like that. So we are building it to be an e-commerce for art.
Okay. Yeah. Faisal, you speak very creative, very passionate about this, and I'm sure somebody out there who is trying to create is still stuck. I've met so many artists out there who are struggling to create something, and they say, Eddie Okila, for you, how do you even come up with these ideas? And are people going to ever pay you for these platforms you're creating and these things you're trying to do? And I've always told people, I don't see the numbers. And I've always told people, aim to have 1%. If you have that 1%, that 1% will reach out to the next and to the next. The mistake we have as creatives is to think that when you create something, you need to have a huge number of people following you, 100 and millions of people, then you feel comfortable. Numbers necessarily does not represent or translate to the viability of that, or the need for that platform to be there. So I'm not a person who always look for huge number of people following me. But I want to take you to a point where, Faisal, you talked about creating stuff and giving a platform for the artist and the creative people to do. I don't see people who are into woodwork, for example, they're always left out. They are very creative people. They are always locked in their space. They don't quite come up to think about this. Is it a lack of that this kind of creative minds don't know their ability to be able to create things that we need, furniture at home, we use the furniture, we use chairs. but they are totally locked out. Are they going to have a platform?
Yeah,
you know.
Actually, I mean, it's very good you asked this question because during our research process, when we were researching this platform, what it's going to do, this version that we're doing, we had a lot of engagements with artists, and actually, I learned a lot. I mean, I've been doing with art for the past 20 years, but even still, I'm still learning, and I learned a lot through this process because our first focus was on the visual art, the paintings, you know, and then we realized that we also have the sculptors, we have the interior designers, and most of the artists are double. They do these things double, like Edward Wadimba. He's a very nice, you know, batik. He does quite some batik, but he also does a lot of nice paintings. But he also does furniture. He does beds. There's this hotel here, which is 99, is it 900 something? Yeah. Somewhere on Kisementi. Yeah. He designed everything there. And I was like, are you sure? And he took me around and said the beds, the furniture, the chairs. You might think it was ordered on IKEA, but very nice work. So we realized that we had left these guys out. And then, so we've added them. Yes. We've added them onto the platform.
But are they willing to come forward? Because most times they locked on. You look at a guy who does nice woodwork and he's telling you he has no idea of how his work is.
Because most of them, you know, there's also this challenge. First of all, they don't know that there are opportunities. But they have not invested in knowing how to sell their work to bigger people. They always use this word of mouth, contact, or some people you meet and they are doing great works and you never know that they are doing well till you find out, like, I didn't know Edward does furniture. I didn't know. I knew very recently when I was doing this platform, and he was like, and he was the one actually championing the movement of getting visual artists. And then later on, he's like, by the way, I also have some work I do. I'm like what? And then he showed me, and I'm like, this is amazing. So that opportunity, but also people not knowing how to get their products easily delivered to people. We are still in that era of people doing work and they're, you know, you make a bed and cannot get out of the house, you know. I think we need artists, like most people in the furniture business, need to start thinking, how do I make a product that is easily transferred, movable, and also can be organized or arranged, or how do they call it, like assembled by someone. I don't need to be there. The way we go to IKEA, and then you buy a piece of art, or you buy a table, you just get it in the boxes and you take it home, and then you fix it yourself, you know. So we need to start understanding also that furniture design is not always about designing something in your studio and then you want someone to bring a truck and then carry it the way, and then no, we need to start moving forward. We need to put the work out. We also need to make it much more easier for people, but also thinking in terms of the spaces, because most of the time we don't, and I don't blame the artists, because we don't have standard spaces in Uganda. No, serious. We don't have standard spaces. You cannot say, you know, in Europe.
But the artist needs to come up with the design of the standard spaces.
No. But you know, like in Europe, there are standard spaces. A bedroom has to be this size. And the artists know, the people who do furniture know that according to the standards of construction, beds are this size. So if I'm making a bed for a room which is standardized, I have to make a bed like this. You get what I mean? Yeah. But here you find this room is 10 by 10, the other one is 3 by 4, the other one is 10. So and
because the artist who designed was the cousin who just called and said he drew it on the paper and said, I want to just finish this.
This is an official thing. This is an official thing that it's guaranteed. You know, it's guaranteed bedrooms or sitting rooms. But here, all beds are 6 by 5 or 4 by 4, or you cannot get another bed of your style. You know, it's difficult. So it makes it very difficult for people who are, you know, living in small spaces to really enjoy the work of, an artist. Of an artist who, you know, who doesn't have, who has no idea of how these spaces are being arranged. So there's still that problem. If we could standardize spaces, and then artists can also be more flexible in terms of like, okay, how do I make things to fit into people's spaces? You know, the minimalism, but also the experimental work of making sure that works are not just for those people who have space.
Wow. Well, we are on the creative industry talk, and we're talking about the audacity to remain creative in the lockdown situation or in a pandemic situation, when there is COVID-19 pandemic situation. Of course, a lot of artists are depressed at the moment and they are not creating stuff. But those who are remaining active and creating are having a platform where they can publish their work. For example, Faisal KIWEWA here is talking about, UMVA Creatives that was born, last April as a platform for artists to, bring in their work, collaborate, and be able to sell their work and showcase their work online, which wasn't there before. And I think it's going to be the first one. I mean, even it was there as a platform for art, wasn't there. And then, of course, we're talking about, if you're remaining active and having the audacity we're talking about is you having the resilience still to be thinking. There are many problems and multitudes of problems in the background, okay, in your backyard, but you still wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I'm going to have to create this product. I'm going to look at the problem that we have in our society, in our community, in our nation, in our region, and I create a product that will, fill in that gap. Those people are surviving. Those people are not running mad. Those people have clients coming in. But those who have, have a linear way of thinking, that it's only one thing, I'm a musician, and so I just go and record music, and he's not doing something that is totally out of the comfort zone, are struggling. Faisal, those are quite a number of them. And I want to just ask you a question as we wind up the show, how do we get more artists to be more active or more creative people to start thinking outside the box? What should we do? Because government is not going to do for us. And who is government anyway? We are the government ourselves. Yes. And if we're not thinking for ourselves, we can't blame government, because government is we and we is government. We're just talking about, we're shifting the responsibility of the thinking to the people in the state. But the people in the State Department are dealing with political pressures and so many other things that if the artists don't come up with these things, some of them are not going to pay attention to. How do we get more people to continue being, hopeful, not being hopeless in this pandemic situation, to do much greater stuff than we used to do before?
I think for me, the sad thing is always to see how people run away so easily, because everyone wants to go out. I want to go to America. I want to go to the UK. I'm like, you want to go there and enjoy what people have worked hard for, instead of contributing. I really think there is a very little spirit of contribution here. People don't see how they can make an effort to be contributive to the growth of our country. And they always want to get things easily. They want to get quick money. They want to, that's why they all run to America. We've lost so many artists. And then you find, one time I was really saddened to see a dancer. I will not mention his name. He left here, went to Europe, and then luckily he's a very good dancer. He ended up doing this Dancing with the Stars, and I think he went all the way to the semi-finals. And then when he was doing an interview, he said that, oh, thank you so much, people, for accepting me, for voting me to be all this way. You can't believe where I come from. My country is so bad. There is no opportunity. And I looked at this guy, and I'm like, really? 45 million people are living here. Are they dying? Yes, you're lucky, but don't put it on the country. Make your contribution as a good dancer. So I think, for me, the challenge is also that people have also exploited what they know. Because you have to forgive everyone. We are in a very bad education system that does not support creativity from the beginning to the end. So you find people are just queer from the beginning, because what they learn is not helping them. They have spent all their years in school and they come out without knowing anything to do with life or being contributive. We are always told to be given. Your teacher gives you notes, you copy and paste, or whatever. Your parents give you money, so you are always given. So there is it's very hard to find people who are really able to work hard and be able to do things without being questioned or without looking at what is in for me. But also, the other thing was a friend of mine who were doing a biking tour, and he told me, you know what? The next generation is going to be different, because some of the children have learned, going to international schools. What do they teach them? They teach them to be creative from a young age, and they give them topics or assignments that are really challenging them to think beyond what they know or what the teacher is giving them. And also, children who have grown up now, knowing that I can go I don't know what they call it, tebakyalina nnyo maalo. You know, no, seriously, tebakyalina nnyo maalo, because you know, they can go to the mall and it's very, of course, when you go with your kid to a restaurant, let's say Cafe Javas, and you give them food and they take a picture, you know that one they still have a long way to go. Yeah. But if you find a kid to have a pizza or whatever, you know, they're not going to take a picture of that pizza because, oh, I have
it's not a very big deal to have a pizza.
Normal,
you know? Whether I have it or not,
exactly.
It's okay.
And when that generation, when it grows, it's going to change a lot of things, because you realize that they don't, even if they don't have money, they're not going to think around, oh, what is exciting, you know? They will work towards to make things different. And I think that's what I like about the new young generation of the 14 and 16 and 17 young olds. But our generation is still struggling because we've been brought up in this system of being fed, you know, from home to school to everywhere you go, you need to be helped. And now we don't know how to deal with challenges. We don't know. That's why people are really struggling. And those who are managing, they're doing their best. Those who are not able, you cannot blame them, because of course everyone tells me you have to take responsibility, yes, but also you have to see the system and the structure that they have been raised in that does not support the minds that we need at this time.
Wow, wow. Are you a creative mind? Are you thinking creatively? Do you still have the authority within yourself to create something? Do you have hope, or you become hopeless because of the pandemic situation? Are you struggling with thinking? Perhaps you need to, you know, surround yourself with people who are thinking positively and look at the problems around you. Look at how you can be part of the solution of that problem. If you're not able to get out of that space to do something, most probably you are not going to be successful. So those who have the audacity of hope to keep moving out, the authority, the thinking, the creativity, the mindset to say, I need to do something for myself, are doing it. And Faisal, thank you very much for coming to the show today. We want to give your last word to that artist who is almost committing suicide. I was talking to an artist, and then it's a very sad note that an artist, about 4 of them reached out to me after watching you and I on the Creative Industry Talk, and we're talking about how to get fundings and, you know, and stuff. And then this person, creative mind, reached out and say, Eddie Okila, my name is so and so, I'm reaching out to you. I don't know how to meet you, but I've watched your clips and I've watched your interviews with Faisal. I don't know how to get funding for my project. I've struggled and I've failed, and I just feel like I'm so frustrated. I just feel like I'm going to die. So I asked him one question. I said, well, sorry that you're having that feeling, and sorry that you're going through that situation, or, you know, going through that kind of, you know, feeling. But have you received a memo from God that this is going to be the end of it? He felt like I was being, you know, unkind to him. Then I also asked him, I said, you are a person who create work. You are always thinking. People come to you. This is a creative writer. He's a very good writer. But he can't write something for himself
to remind him of
something, or even to say, this is what I've created. He's used to creating things for others. So the ability for him to think creatively for himself, to come up with something, is taken away from him. And he now feels like he wants to commit suicide. So I told him, well, committing suicide won't solve the problem, but what is most probably going to happen to you is that you have abdicated the duty of thinking for what you can do and the power to others. How can artists take back that power to them and begin to do it as we wind up the show, Faisal?
Yeah, but I think, Eddie, we have to be honest. We are all going through a lot. Yeah. You know, we can be here and just, people sometimes they see you walking and they think, Eddie has
everything is normal, yes.
No, we all have our issues to deal with. But what makes it different is that you wake up in the morning and put yourself together and say, I'm going to go and work, or I'm going to go and write, I'm going to go and create work. Because whether you like it or not, you need to survive for tomorrow. Yeah. So the issues we face with suicides, thoughts, and you know, depressions, they are real, they exist, and people are going through them. Of course, you need to Definitely, some people need to get help, talk to someone. But again, we also have to remember that we have responsibilities. We might not be so significant in these countries where we feel like, oh, I'm a prime minister or I'm so and so. But every human has a responsibility to contribute to the future of this country, whether you are recognized or not, you know. But I think what we need to do is to think and know that the future needs to be different. Yeah. It cannot stay the same. And we, as a people, have to contribute to the difference that we seek to have. When you see good places, good cities, you sit in a plane and it's all designed, do you think that it was just, it came out of the air by itself? People put their thoughts to that. So what are you working on as a creative artist? What are you contributing to the betterness, to the beauty that you want to see? You know, and it's not only for the creatives, but also for the people who are planning for this country, for the people who are investing in this country. Whatever investment you're making, what is it adding on to the future of this country, to the creativity, to the lifestyle, to the betterness of the people?
Wow. Well, we want to leave you with a very interesting topic of discussion today. One, if you will put it up there, I will ask the team to put it up there for you to remind yourself. And the topic is, program is Creative Industry Talk. And the topic today is the audacity of hope to create things and to be creative in this pandemic situation is key for our next step of, you know, being creative people who are successful in life. And of course, the program has come to an end. And we want to say thank you very much, everybody who has been following the show all across the world. Thank you very much to Faisal for always coming and sharing with us, you know, a lot of wisdom coming from his experiences. And he's been traveling. He's just given you an understanding of, you know, what happened in Germany when a South African production house and creative minds could not be in Germany because they were all tested positive, but they presented, you know, the audacity of hope. That's what you're talking about, to continue being creative even in the pandemic situation is the perfect match and a perfect fit.
Taking risks, yeah.
And taking risk. If you're not taking risk, it's going to be very difficult for us to.
People really fear to take risks.
Yes.
They are always worried about, oh my God, what am I going to do? I think, you know, we take risks every day. I mean, and I think for me, I find it boring not to risk because I think it's very important to, you know, if you don't risk, then I think there is not really much purpose of, you can't challenge yourself. You need to challenge yourself with things that you can't reach and but look forward to or work towards to. So you think big, like everyone says that, oh, you have to have a bigger vision. Definitely you have. And that means that you're taking a risk to be, you know, relevant. We need to be relevant. We cannot just die and pass by. You know, we are not birds.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Faisal, and thank you very much, everybody, for being a part of the, you know, Creative Industry Talk, growing big and better. Until next week, we are live on House of Talent. Website www.houseoftalentuganda. www.houseoftalentug.com is live right there. You can be a part of the conversation. Keep the conversation coming on Facebook, House of Talent Uganda, and on Twitter at HTV1. Until then, we want to say thank you and stay safe, stay creating, keep the hope alive. Eddie Okila, Faisal KIWEWA, signing out.
At the moment are struggling to understand the older generation because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They've moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's book face. Why are you on book face? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying, I have a foot amongst the millennials.
Yeah.
And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and in the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand.
Yes.
Remember Prince?
Yes.
Prince.
Hello and welcome to today's edition of the Slam Dunk Basketball Talk. My name is Ateng Emmanuel. This is the show where we get to talk about basketball in Uganda and whatever's happening in the basketball scene. Now, basketball in Uganda has been off for a while due to the COVID pandemic and due to lockdown, so games haven't been happening. Players haven't been getting on court to work out, and these are some of the issues that have been affecting us as the basketball fraternity, and these are some of the things that we need to talk about. With me in the studio today is Mr. John Omondi, aka Mapesa John, and would like to find out, first of all, where did the Mapesa name come from?
Thank you. I'm John, as Eti has just mentioned. Mapesa is an AK name. Where I come from, it is money. It means money, but here I don't know what it means, but that's all I know. It means money. I think when you look at me, people think that I have
that you have money. So you're
unfortunately,
you're the people who got a double portion of the money that was supposed to come from the government.
That money is just as much as you're waiting for it. I am also waiting for it. I hope they'll realize that I didn't get it and they'll splash some to me, but inshallah.
Yeah, well, hopefully that money comes. John, again, you're very welcome to the show. This is a show where we get to talk about everything that is about basketball in the Ugandan fraternity. And I know that you've been a part of basketball for a very long time, okay? There are some people who know you as Coach John. There are some people who know you as a player back in the days. There's a nickname we used to call you, which was Chumacha Railway, during your playing days. To start the show, we just want you to walk us through your basketball journey, where you started from, and where did you transition from a player into a coach?
Wow, that's a long one. You've taken me back.
Way back into time.
Well, I would say that I came to play basketball for Chitante. It was during my high school day.
Yeah.
Those days, qualifying for nationals was very difficult. So our job was to make sure that the school reaches finals, actually. So our first year in senior 4, I would say, we managed to get somewhere. We reached the finals. Our second year, we took the championship. But after that, you must realize that every good player or every good coach should come from specific teams, like us who are lucky to be in Rhinos. Rhinos has brought up so many people. During my high school days, it was Coach Manje Gironi. He just finished his high school the previous year, so he was my first coach in Uganda. So after that, we had to find ourselves in Rhinos, and as you know, Rhinos has brought up so many teams, so many players. So I played for Rhinos. After Rhinos, actually I didn't stop playing for Rhinos. I'm still a Rhino. And that's when I started coaching Rhinos. I started coaching Rhinos as Amazon Amazon is one of the clubs for Rhinos Athletics Club.
Yeah.
So it was a hot soup. I started coaching when I was still a player. So it is actually what built me, built who I am.
Yeah.
So it was a hot soup. I was coaching in the league when I was very young, and we grew up together. Then I was also playing for Rhinos. You know, playing for Rhinos, Rhinos used to give so much.
Yeah.
You realize that they taught a lot. They had very experienced players and experienced coaches. Some of them are in the US. So they brought us. They took us in, they brought us and made us who we are.
Yeah.
The second time I got the biggest coaching job was when Charging Rhinos was relegated.
Yeah.
I was a player for Charging Rhinos, but when we were relegated, you know what happens when teams are relegated.
Yeah.
People will start moving. So
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna be a coach player. So that's how coach playing began. It was tough.
Yeah.
I tried to coach play. You know, when you're coach playing, you want to call all the shots. You know, you can't serve two masters. So at a certain time, I had to drop playing. I said, you know what? Let me concentrate on coaching.
Yeah.
So the first year, things didn't go so well. The second year, we managed to hit, we hit the champion. Actually, we reached finals.
Yeah.
And we were promoted again back to NBL.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. It started with the Rhinos. I must thank Rhinos for making me who I am. But again, I've coached a number of young teams. You know, as you're growing, you start low. I think Rhinos was the biggest team I coached when I was still growing as a coach. But I used to coach these young kids like international schools. I did ISU, I did a number of schools, Kawembe Muslim, Bugema. I coached so many teams that if I start talking about it, it's a big trend. It's a very, very big trend.
Well, that's a very interesting journey, you know, knowing that you started from Kitante, which is actually just down the road from here. I remember way back in the day, Kitante, Hill School, Kavoja, those were really the biggest schools at the time, you know, and I think qualifying for the nationals at that time was a very hard thing, and also getting to the finals was really hard because there was a lot of actually competition during that time. And I remember your team had a couple of players who are actually also coaches now. Yeah, could you just take us back to what was that group like? There was you, John Mapesa. Who were the other players on the team, and are they still playing right now? Are they coaching? What has happened to their lives in basketball?
Well, like when I was joining Kitante, we were three musketeers. I had Hamza, who coached a couple of teams. He coached A1. He also coached Amazon some time back.
Yeah.
He coached KIU. I also had Jeff Omondi. He actually played for UCU at a certain time. Then he found himself at CTOL, but he coached, I think, A1.
Yeah.
Then Eric is the only guy who left. So we were around 4-5 guys who were in Chitante. Our job was to actually, Geoff came on the second year when we were almost finishing. But even all of them found themselves in Rhinos. So we played together, and I think when we were done with high school, people parted ways. Some of us went to university, some of us relocated back to Kenya. But you realize that all of them are coaches.
Yeah.
Hamza was a good coach. Geoff is still coaching. Actually, myself, I'm coaching. And you must realize that even Mandy Jironi is a product of Chitante, a product of Rhinos.
Yeah.
People like Stephen Omoni, those are products of Chitante and Rhinos. So it's being a journey.
Yeah.
And technically, I'm saying that most coaches we have in Uganda, you realize that almost 80% have a background of Rhinos in it. Yeah, good players, Chitante and Rhinos. So Chitante is a school that you could have thought that they had an attachment with Rhinos somehow, because from there you are finding yourself in Rhinos. So I think it was a good umbrella that brought us up. and we're proud of it. We are proud to be still coaching. I know, you know, in Uganda here, there's so many coaches. I think our database has over 63. But you'd find that active coaches might be something like 20.
Very few.
Yeah, so that's another problem that I think.
That's a discussion for
another day.
day.
Yeah, that's another discussion for another day.
Yeah, well, just speaking from there, we actually want to pick the discussion from there. You know, today we're talking about basketball at the grassroots, okay? So that includes basketball when it comes to the kids, basketball in high schools and also in university before they really transition out into the NBL. So you playing back in the day, okay, we had all these tournaments. I think the whole year was filled with, there was at least 3 tournaments for every term, okay? And fast forward it into the present, we have very few tournaments that are happening, okay? So just take us through what was basketball like back in the day, high school basketball, compared to high school basketball now. Has it become better? Has it become worse? You know, according to your view, what has happened in high school basketball?
Well, that's another good question. Now, back in the days, you know, Uganda did a lot of import.
Yeah.
They imported very many foreigners. So actually, Ugandan basketball was filled with foreigners. And you know, foreigners, they come with some kind of momentum that is a little bit at high peak.
Yeah.
So I would say that the pool when it comes to basketball in back day, the pool was small. The competition level was so high.
Yeah.
But again, the number of schools were few. And the competition level was also high because we call, actually nowadays they call them machineries.
Yeah.
The number of machineries that were in the land was a little bit too many. And their competition level was high.
Yeah.
And that's why you find that the fan base was also very high. So many people always wanted to see what's happening. So whether basketball is in the western region or eastern, people would go to watch. And again, you'd find that the teams that were doing well were specific. Chitante was lucky to be doing well as a day school, but the higher percentage of schools that were doing well then were boarding school, the likes of Chibuli, Kabogia, you know, Naja, Manjas. So Chitante was one of the only high school that was a day school that was doing well, because I think maybe it had some good input to make things happen. You know, like our days, I remember we were, as much as we had 3 good guys, actually 4 to 5 good guys, Kabogia was our biggest problem. Kabogia had it.
Yeah.
And the likes of, some of them, you know them, the likes of Ivan Enabu, Ken Balejusa, you know, Alan Tauda. Those, Ivan could be a problem.
Yeah.
You know, he's one of the guys who gave us serious problem in our days.
Yeah.
And you saw even during the league time, he was still doing a good job. So I would say that the manpower then was different, and it was mainly packed with a huge number of foreign input.
Yeah.
But you see now, it has kind of changed. And actually, some of the structures that were running basketball then were different. We had Nasiba, actually Nasiba. It had to bring a foreign cup, which kind of neutralized some of the foreign input that was going around.
Yeah.
And that reduced the number of foreigners
Yeah.
running in the Ugandan basketball. So you find that now, when that transition changed from foreign to limitation, now Ugandans got some time to play,
Yeah.
which was a good thing. It was a very good thing, and I wish they didn't stop. You see now, like now, you find that the schools that are doing well, they are private schools, and that means that they invest. You see, government school, their investment limit is to a specific level.
Yeah.
But now private school, they have a good budget. Most of them have a good budget, and they are able to bring in any good talent.
Yeah.
And they are also able to fish any talent from anywhere within the country.
Yeah, well, I like how you've actually brought in the aspect of traditional schools versus the international schools, okay? And we'll be going into more of this after the break, because I believe that this is going to make for a very interesting conversation, yeah? After the break, we'll be back with more on Slam Dunk Basketball Talk. Mr. John Mapesa Omondi will be telling us more on his perspectives on grassroots basketball. Don't go anywhere. This is the Slam Dunk Basketball Talk on House of Talent Television.
People at the moment are struggling to understand the older generation because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They've moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying, I have a foot amongst the millennials.
Yeah.
And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and in the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand.
Yes.
Remember Prince?
Yes.
Prince.
Welcome back to Slam Dunk Basketball Talk on House of Talent Television. Remember, you can catch us live on our social media handles or at our House of Talent Television on Facebook and on Twitter. And you can also catch us on YouTube at House of Talent Television live. This is the Slam Dunk Basketball Talk. And we've been talking basketball with Mr. John Mapesa Omondi in the studio. And before we went for the break, we had brought in the aspect of the traditional schools versus the modern schools. Back in the day, we had schools like Kitante, Kaboja, Chivuli, Manjas in the east, and these were basically the powerhouses way back then, okay? And now we have a shift, okay, where now the schools that are actually on top is one of the schools that you coach. Yeah, I think that is the school that is on top now. You have other schools like Crane High and all these schools. So the dynamics shifted from traditional schools and it has come into these modern schools, okay? And I think it also shifted from trying to, you know, make a name for yourself, and it has shifted into what would say is more monetary. It's more marketing now, okay? So how has the marketing factor, okay, affected this shift in basketball? Because now, for you to be known, you have to have a marketing factor, and basketball has become one of those. Okay, so how has marketing influenced the change in basketball from way back then and today in these modern times?
Well, it is obvious that any school would want to be seen out there.
Yeah.
And the only avenue for, actually one of the best avenue for some of these, for example, private schools, not that government schools have not, cannot be, they also have a budget. I'm sure every entity, be it government or private, they have a budget.
Yeah.
And now the priorities, I think, is what makes a difference.
Yeah.
You'd find that, because Chibuli is another school that has a very good budget for sports. And I'm sure that when you talk about my school, Budo,
yeah.
Budo has a good budget for sport,
Yeah.
and they dictate the budget that they can use within a period of time.
Yeah.
So schools who are very sharp realize that sports is one of the best avenue to reach a big number of clientele. And you realize that at times they come with very big buses. Have you ever figured out why? You'd find that you have only one team of basketball, but you have a huge bus. When you look inside, nothing.
Like 12 people
You know,
in the bus.
12 guys with some 3 guys who are supporting. So when you park your bus in a specific place, a student will look at it and like, man, these guys, there's something about it. There's something about it that will drive you. And by good or bad luck, if you manage to go, for example, for a friendly in that school, you might want to stay. And then you'll start disturbing your parents that, man, I want that school.
Yeah.
So it is a marketing strategy that schools have realized they can use. Not that it is the only marketing strategy, but it is a good marketing strategy. It has opened up so many schools.
Yeah.
So, and I would say that before then, because Chibuli has been one of my #1 competitors. I think I started winning games like 5 years ago, because I was always fighting with Chibuli, you know. So you wouldn't say that it has, maybe Buddha has taken over, because Chibuli is not having the cash muscle. They do, but we grew up. Maybe those days we were small, but now we are powerhouse, and I think people will have to accept that there's evolution. And if Buddha is doing it, I think they have done a good job. We've done a good job over the years. We've given Uganda the first East Africa Championship. The boys had never won an East African Championship before. And the girls have given Uganda back to back. So at the end of the day, I mean, at times I feel like when, maybe when we are competing locally at the maybe qualifier level, it might be a little bit personal, where school and school, muscle. But when it goes beyond nationals, now then the representation changes. It's Uganda. So it doesn't matter who is playing, who is winning. At the end of the day, it is Uganda that has won that championship, and that's how it is. But I think no one should lie to you that other schools don't have budgets. Every government entity must have a sports budget. It is the priority that they give to sports. I think that's what differs.
I think that's very true. Most government schools now think they want to focus more on books, and the budget that is there for sports actually is siphoned into other things, but I guess that's a discussion for another day. Now, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room here, okay? Johnny is the coach of Budo. You've had a lot of success with the Budo team, okay, winning the East African Championship. And in the basketball circles, okay, just like your story with Kitante, you came in from Kenya to play for Kitante because they wanted to move to a certain level, okay? Fast forward to the present time, now you're coach of Budo, and I think you're faced with the same situation as you were in Kitante, but this time you're on the coaching side, okay? And the school has told you, Johnny, this is the budget, and this is where we want you to be, yeah? And you have been blamed for using a lot of foreign players, okay? They say it's John who gets players from Sudan. His first 5 are more than 5 feet high. How are we going to compete you know, with them. And this has been a complaint from actually very many schools and very many coaches. And some even say that the cap on foreign players, okay, in high school was brought because of your initiatives to actually try and win in high school basketball. What is your comment on this?
That's a tough one, but I'll give my honest opinion. Now, it's an open market.
Yeah.
And I don't think any school has been limited on where to get players. These are our clans. Budo is a private entity. It can get students from anywhere within the world, if not East Africa.
Yeah.
So, a coach, my job is to look at the dynamics of the competition, look at the rules that govern the competition, and act as per the rules that govern the competition. And I'm sure if I'm not the only one who picks players from outside the country. Yeah. And this is within East Africa. My players are within East Africa. I've never got players from America to come and play for me. These are students, and they're genuinely from within East Africa.
Yeah.
And I'm sure as much as Budo has students from Sudan or whichever, or Kenya or wherever, or Tanzania, other schools also do have.
Yeah.
So the thing, their question should be the success. You know, you can get players from all over, but are they still gonna give you the results you're looking for? So they should be crying that how come Johnny knows how to recruit and manages to do well with the players he recruits? Because when you go to other schools, Chibuli has foreigners. They have so many players from. Those are my direct competitors. When you go to Wakiso, you'll find that actually there's a school in Wakiso that has 99% foreigners. Yeah. So the question is, why haven't they managed to do well with the input that they're making? Because you'd find that maybe Budo as a school, it has defined structures.
Yeah.
You know, we have to respect why entities do well. So I have a very good structure from the top, from my director all the way to the water boy.
Yeah.
You know, we have a good structure,
Yeah.
and we have a good support staff that enable us achieve our goal. When you go to that school, you find that I have everything. I have the courts, I have the balls.
Yeah.
My job is to impart skills.
Yeah.
So if I do a good job with that, I think they should ask themselves, can we learn? What is he doing that we are not doing?
We're not doing,
you know?
yeah.
But if they say that he's bringing in, but somebody would look at it like he's bringing what you've brought in. So, so that means that the market was open market and the playing ground was level. So why don't you bring in what he's bringing in? Or why don't you do what he's doing?
Yeah.
So I think maybe their approach is just the wrong approach. They should be fighting to know or to, we can, I'm open. If you want to learn what I do, I'll be glad to share with you. So you should ask me, what are you doing that is making you do well? Because now if they say down here, so how about up there? If I'm doing well up there, would you say that now is up there, is he bringing the same people?
Yeah.
He's using the same people within Uganda to make ends meet. So if you blame me down here, then you're gonna blame me up there. Because if you see up there, I think I have the youngest, the youngest team in the field. So they need to change their approach.
Yeah, so that brings in actually a very good question. So what are you doing right that they are not doing? Since it's an open market and now we're in a place where you're like a consultant now. Okay, what are you doing right that other schools are not doing, given the same playing field?
I don't know who's gonna pay for this consultation. But well, you know, coaching is the only place that you learn from each other. Now, as I told you, I have a very good support structure. I have all the facilities I need to execute my job. And I'm not complaining about the financial bit, which is a very important part of making ends meet. You know, finance is one of the reasons why basketball is crumbling, even at the top level. So, what you know, we've learned our coaching. We've learned from different avenues. FUBA has done a good job to give so many courses for coaches. But again, we have so many avenues to research. And me, what I do, one of the things coaches make a mistake with, they copy and paste. So when you copy and paste, you're copying somebody's strength, but you're forgetting that there's weakness. So if I copy your strength, then I bring to myself, then I'll be improving on the weakness. Because what you do that works for you might not work for me. So what I do, I look at what you do. I ask myself why you do it. I look at the reason why you do what you do. Then I just pick what I think is good enough for me, given the manpower I have. Then I blend it in. You get it? So I don't copy and paste. I copy what you do and I synchronize with what I know. And that is one of the biggest difference that I kind of ride on. And then my philosophy. You know, I've looked around Uganda, the kind of basketball people play. I would say 70% of what I do is defensive. I work so hard defensively. I give 30% to offense, or I would give 20% to offense, which has worked, but no, it's not a good thing. You know, you need to balance it. You get it. So I look at my manpower. Then I balance the percentage I want to give in training. So I give a lot of time on defense. I give average time on offense because I want players to express themselves. You know, coaches also don't realize that if you limit players to do things the way, your way, it's gonna choke them. They're not gonna express themselves.
That's true.
So if I stick to telling you that this is how I want you to play defense, that is me. So I need to give you some allowance on offense. So that you express what makes you a basketballer. And it has worked for me. At times people say that most of my game is transition. And if you look at it, even in the higher leagues, I take you for a run. But why do I do that? Because I know I have young players who are energetic. What they do is study and play. So they don't have anything stressing them. I know they can run and everything they do is intense. So when I come to you and I find that you have a weakness, I have to know your weakness. I have to look at the weakness of my opponent. I know that most teams in this championship, actually even in high school basketball, you'd find that 3/4 just pick the players, they go make some layups and play games. So I realized that they have a weakness with giving the right techniques to players. What do? I say that, okay, they don't work so hard on this thing, I want to work so hard on it that they will choke when they want to meet me. They'll have to choke. So that's how I've been riding. I've done that for over 12 years and it has not failed me. And it's a secret. So technically.
Well, the secret is now out. And if you're a coach and you're watching the Slam Dunk Basketball Talk, get down to our comment section on our Twitter, on our Facebook. Let us know what your coaching philosophy is like. If you have any questions for Mr. John Omondi, you can post them down there also. We'll be reading them later. But I will take a quick break right now and we'll be back with more on Slam Dunk Basketball Talk. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Slam Dunk Basketball Talk. My name is Ateng Emmanuel, and remember, this is House of Talent Television, where you can catch us live on our YouTube channel or go down to Facebook and Twitter, where you can also catch us live and drop us some comments. Let us know what you're thinking. If you're a coach, let us know what your coaching philosophy is, your coaching experience. If you're a player and you worked under Mr. John Mapesa, let us know what kind of coach he is. And I think he's an interesting coach coming from the kind of background that he is. I know that you have coached with Coach Coach Walker. Okay, and Walker was a very flary coach. He was kicking bottles here and there. And what kind of impact did Walker have on you, and did that affect your coaching philosophy? Do you coach the same way, or you took another route from where he left off?
Walker, you know, when people look at Walker, they don't understand that he loves this game. I think he's
very
really,
passionate
he's so
about
passionate about this game. Yeah. One thing, Walker has a very loud side of him and a very soft side of him.
Yeah.
You know, and one thing people don't realize. If you learn to work within such kind of environment, it does two things. It either pushes you or breaks you. So if you understand that his intention is to push you, then you're good. Because you realize that most players who have come from Deja University, they are at high peak. You know, they are always pushed to the limit. So me, I got a chance to work with Walker, and one of the things I would say I learned from him. He does a lot of research.
Yeah.
He's so knowledgeable, but at times I think he has a very short time frame to express himself or to impart. So during my 4 years with him, I learned what I used to do. I see what he does. I see how he does it. When I go back, I change it. And when I come back, I tell him that, boss, you know why this thing is disturbing us? We need to change it. But one good thing about him, he allowed me. He told me that, Johnny, you know what? That's why you're here. Your job is to make the best out of this program. So he gave me a lot of room to express myself. And that is why even when he migrated, you wouldn't feel like there's a change, because he empowered me a lot. And that one I'm very grateful. He gave me a lot of room, a lot of, actually he has experience. And when he's on the touchline, the passion drives him, and at times it overrides him, and
the emotions take
over. And the players who have been under him for a long time, you see, like the likes of Tim Jonah. Look at the people who have come from Deje. They are doing very well, and they can fit in any environment, any club. And you realize that by the time they are completing their studies, so many teams wanted them, and it's happening. So many teams are looking at Deje players, and it is even now. I think you've seen that so many are moving to other clubs when they are done with their studies. So the reason why they would fit in is because of the push that they go through. So I would say that they're pushed to the limit. We really used to give them a lot of a run. And me, I would say that Walker was a good coach. I appreciated working with him, and I learned from him. And I'm trying to adapt to some of his coaching styles. Actually, he's one of the guys who insisted that, Johnny, yes, I know the defense. I know you're good, but you can't play defense alone. You have to put, because you're gonna choke if you get a team that understands what you're doing. So that is why at the moment I'm trying to synchronize a little bit of more of offense. I would now give from 30%, I would try to take it to 40, but I'm still stuck to my 30%. I cannot give it. Because you realize that, I know all the big teams. You realize that one of the reasons why I would say that Deje would penetrate any team in Uganda is because our defense is hard, our offense is average, but we run you down. We run you down because, you know, my philosophy again comes in. I believe in taking you for a run. If you cannot keep up, then you let me win.
So the secret to beating Indeja is just outrun Indeja.
No, you can't outrun Indeja because they're the masterpiece of the run. Because you'll find the defense there. They're very energetic, they're young, and they're ready for you. They have nothing to prove. True. But they have the fighting spirit.
They have that heart and the fight. Yeah, that's very interesting, and it's always good to know, you know, the people who have had an influence on you when it comes to your coaching journey. Well, we're going to get back into the main topic for today. We're looking at basketball, the grassroots. Okay, I heard that the under-16 team, okay, the Ugandan team that was actually supposed to go and take part in that tournament, was actually cancelled out. It's not the first team that is being cancelled out. We had the same problem with the Gazelles, who couldn't go to Kenya to take part in the Afro-Basket, but that's also a discussion for another day. We're still looking at basketball, the grassroots. With the experience that you've had coaching young kids and also coaching at the high school level, okay, what are some of the biggest problems you faced at the grassroots when it comes to, let's say, players, when it comes to working with different institutions? And I also know FUBA has a part that it plays in all these issues. So what are some of the biggest problems that you faced with basketball, the grassroots?
Well, basketball, the grassroots has, it has some challenges are because of our laziness. Some it's because of the structures. Because I would say that FUBA has one of the best structures with regards to sports development in Uganda. But I don't think they have empowered the grassroots structures to do so much. But again, when you look at the grassroots structure, they are crippled. You know, there's one thing that we have to agree. Money, funds. Let me talk about funds. Funding is a big issue because everything you want to do, you need a ball. Anything you want to do, you need facilities. Anything you want to do, you need a coach. Anything you want to do, there's so much. But you see, now, down there, if, for example, our structures as coaching association could do more voluntary than the cash side, then we would do ourselves a lot of justice. You know, by the now, because I remember there's a plan to register academies. But again, when you look at registration of academy, it means that these academies have to part with some cash, which is not there. And then the dynamics of running an academy also, you need to cash in to make the academy. Because when you're starting anything, you find that there's a hitch. You need to buy balls. You need a facility. And you realize that Uganda, one of the problems they lack is facility. They don't have basketball structures. Actually, you'd find that it's schools that have basketball courts. Out there, they are counted. You'd find that there are 2 or 3, which you can even run a program. So I think maybe FUBA should look at maybe adding the number of sports facilities in Uganda, because the population is big. The population is very big. The players are growing. I think we have more players. Uganda has the biggest league in East Africa. If not, I think it's one of the biggest league. And managing such a league, you need a home court, which we don't have. We are still renting. You saw we couldn't use YMCA for so many dynamics. You saw Lugogo, we are stuck. So technically, it is hard for this federation to run so much at the grassroots if they cannot even run what they have at the top level. So I think it comes back to investment. The priorities that probably FUBA will have, or the priorities that the guys, the investors, you know. I know I'm an investor, but I cannot build a court. I don't have the muscle to build a court. But we can outsource. I think one of the things that FUBA should now invest in is to look at how to have a home court and how to empower clubs to have their own home courts, which is happening now, but I think it's still not so sound. But coaches need to come back and be nice to the game. If you truly love this game, you have to do a lot of voluntarism to make basketball a success. Because like, I've done it. I've had my shot in volunteering. That is why you find that I've coached so many teams. And some of them, you would find that they don't pay me what they need to pay me, but because I love what I'm doing, I can take the little that they pay. Because now if you start looking at what they pay you, you find that it's transport. That is why now, currently, I'm only attached to specific entities which can able to
pay you for the work that you did way before.
Pay me for.
Well, that's interesting. You brought in the aspect of investors, okay? But the thing that you have to realize about our game is that it has to be at a level where it's marketable for you to have people coming in, okay? I don't think that FUBA has really marketed the game as well as it should. If we take an example of Rwanda, okay, Rwanda built that stadium that they're using right now, and that has brought a lot of visibility to them, with the NBA coming in and giving them now different programs, you know. And Uganda had the NBA, junior NBA actually, which I don't think is running anymore because of, you know, a few things here and there in basketball. Yeah. So what can, let's say, different schools, okay, different academies, okay, do to make themselves marketable to the level whereby we'll have big companies coming in to actually act as sponsors or partners, okay, with these different entities at the grassroots so that we can grow up the game?
Yeah, it takes me back to the same thing.
Yeah.
Start. You know, starting is the hardest. So like me, you find that I have an academy, but most of it, you find that it's for free. I don't ask people to pay because I'm building.
Yeah.
You get it? So if we don't volunteer to make something look worth partnering with, because if you start looking at money first, then you're not gonna build. So you have to build without money. Build with the resources you have. That's why I'm saying coaches need to start volunteering. Because in their academies, they're not going to get money so much. You'd find that you have an academy, but you spend more than you get. So if we can push that a little bit more as coaches, make it a little bit vibrant, get players, teach them so that when they play, you want to come and watch. You see, I have to attract you to come and watch. And some of them, you realize it's their parents who own some of these fuel stations. It's their parents who work in some of these big entities. So if their parents are happy with what we do down here, it would be so easy for them to want to be partner. You know, they want to be involved in what you're doing, and that's how it comes in. There's nothing new you're gonna do to bring sponsors in. It is the product you're giving. If they like what you're doing, they'll want to be part of you. So again, when you look at FUBA, when you look at Rwanda, that is a government initiative. So technically, maybe FUBA has to get the right technical know-who in there to make things happen, because you have to know someone in there to make things happen. But if you don't know somebody up there, then it will be hard for you to even approach, you know. But Rwanda, it was a government. Uganda, I think the only government entity we have is Lugogo, which is shared by every sport. So technically, when you talk about but it's me, what I know, it comes back to us as coaches to make the best out of us, build a package that anyone would want to be part of, and that's it.
We are slowly coming to the end of the show because we're running out of time. But before we get there, I just want you to, you know, talk to the people down there at the grassroots, because I'm also a part of grassroots coaching, you know, where you have to go to a school and coach kids. Some of them are in schools that really can't finance you, like you said, and you have to go and volunteer. And sometimes us as coaches, okay, or whoever is out there in the coaching fraternity, okay, there are a lot of resources, there are a lot of things that we do not have, that even if we wanted to volunteer, okay, sometimes it becomes hard. Because I'm going to a school, there's one basketball for 50 kids. You have 5 cones for 50 kids, okay? You're sharing a court with netball, with handball. Sometimes they're playing football on these courts, okay? So there are very many issues that even if you wanted to volunteer, you face as a coach, okay? So what can the NCS and FUBA for now do? Because we realize we're in a situation of lockdown, and you know, coming out of lockdown, we really need to engage these kids, because at the end of the day, it's these kids who feed into the national teams of the future, okay? So what should FUBA, National Council of Sports, and also the country itself do to support these grassroots in respect to resources, in respect to education? Should they put up some schemes? What can they do?
I think it comes back to how, okay, FUBA, it comes back to FUBA empowering its structures down at the grassroots. Yeah. Maybe you find that you have coaches, but probably they're not structured enough to know what to do. There has to be a lot of workshops to let them know how best they can empower, how best they can bring up their academy, the likes of the academies that they want to. They have programs. Every coach has a program, but now at times they feel crippled when it comes to how to run this program. So I think the structures down there should be in a position to have a leader. There has to be a leadership structure that helps the grassroots. When you come to schools, you know, as coaches, that's why I'm very happy that FUBA has given us a lot. I think through FIBA, we've had a lot of courses that even if you have one ball, a school, you have so much, but you have one ball, it is still possible for you to still go to that school and still run a coaching course. Because remember, not all the time a player is always going to play with the ball. So you can do station kind of, you know, whereby this group is doing this group is doing that, but everything is geared towards the end results of building a basketball. So technically, don't feel shy that you have a school. You can even use your basketball. If you want to make the school be in love with a sport, show them that it is worth it. So show them you can do it. So you use your basketball coaching skills to be able to teach so many with one basketball. So you do group kind of sessions whereby you teach different skills. You know, when there are many, you teach different skills. And then when you talk about National Council of Sports, the only thing they can do is probably fund some of the facilities. You realize that the only thing that they also still rely on is Lugogo. Nambole, I think, was left to the dogs. So technically, NCS, I think they should, through government, I think the only thing is to lobby and put some facilities. That's the best they can do. And probably fund a national team after which they are doing. I'm not saying that they're not doing, but I think it is so sad if a national team can be in a position, you know, they have a chance of qualifying, and then they're just in the neighborhood in Rwanda here where they can even use a bus, and then you find that a team fails to go. And what I can tell you again, there was a high possibility that Uganda was going to qualify for AfroBasket. That's the thing. And you can never know now because they didn't get the chance to compete. You realize that Rwanda, you saw how Kenya and Rwanda played, how it turned. Kenya lost so many games, but they won the championship. Won at the end of the day. Uganda has won some. Actually, I think Uganda has a very good team. Both men and women. I believe, I do a lot of women coaching, and I believe Uganda would have made it.
Well, it's very good that we had you on the show today, you know, getting your perspectives and also your consultancy, which I think many coaches will have to pay for at the end of the day. But Johnny, would like to thank you for coming onto the show and just sharing with us your experience and also your thoughts on grassroots basketball. I believe that we'll also, you know, invite you next time, because we haven't really, you know, entered into everything we could have gotten out of you as a basketballer, as a coach. We also know that you step into other realms where you're a father and all these things, and all these make you a total basketballer. We just want to say thank you from House of Talent Television. And if you're watching us, remember you can catch us live on Facebook at House of Talent Television, on Twitter, and also on YouTube, and also on our website. We want to thank you for being with us today, wherever you watch the show from. Thank you. This was Slam Dunk Basketball Talk with me, Atengi Emmanuel, and John Mapesa Omondi. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Welcome to this week's program. Our speaker is Paula Abru from New York Summer Stage.
Like a new beginning, you remind me of something else, something that I used to feel, something like what I've been missing. Oh, like what I've been missing. Oh, something like what I've been missing. Oh, so long I didn't know.
Hi, I'm Paula Abreu, and I'm the Associate Director of Programming at City Parks Foundation Summer Stage in New York. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. City Parks Foundation produces the largest free outdoor performing arts festival in New York City, Summer Stage. We produce events in 15 parks across the city and Central Park. We're the only festival producing events in all 5 boroughs of the city. Our events range from music, dance, spoken word, theater, opera, family programming for all ages to all New Yorkers in the city. We are the largest festival, and we're proud to also produce events related to education, sports, and community building with City Parks Foundation. New York City is a very diverse city in terms of culture, and I mean it's hard to think of how to explain how people come together to celebrate culture. I think music is an universal language, and dance and art forms are universal languages of how people express. So I think that's a threading connecting point that makes people join and celebrate and be together in the same space, sharing the same experience. But also I've noticed in my years in New York City, and I should say I'm from Brazil originally, a big city as well, Rio de Janeiro. But it's different. It's a very different city in terms of geography, demographic, and how the city is divided, the urban areas. So I think what is unique to New York, at least comparing to Rio and to other places where I lived or visited, is that there are many different pockets of culture, and sometimes they don't come together. They're very segregated. But when there's a big event and when there's a big music concert, you do see a very mixed crowd and mixed ages and demographics and ethnic groups together, enjoying the same music or the same experience. So it's a beautiful thing to see, even though it's a city with many geographical pockets of culture. Summer Stage started 36 years ago in New York City in 1986. This year is technically our 36th year. It started only in Central Park, and then a few years later we started doing shows all across the city in all the boroughs. And I think it started with a mission to, first of all, to elevate Central Park as a space where people felt safe and they could come and hang out in their backyard, because it's a park very central to New York. Of course, it's at the heart of the city. But then when we expanded to the other boroughs, we were thinking of the communities that don't receive arts and culture the same way that maybe people in Manhattan or people that live close to culture hubs that they experience. So we wanted to bring culture to their backyard. We wanted to bring artists that wouldn't perform near their houses otherwise, and we wanted to do that for free. So that's been a mission of Summer Stage since its inception. And we're truly the only festival that does this. We bring culture and artists to their backyard, to the backyards of New Yorkers. And if I may say, I mean, the definition of culture, it varies, and the definition of entertainment and fun and what people want to experience is very broad. But I think what we bring is it's either something that identify with a specific ethnic group. For example, New York is made of such diverse ethnic groups. To give an example, we have a specific Ghanaian community that lives in the Bronx, and for the last 2 years we've been bringing Ghanaian artists to the Bronx, and the Ghanaian community feel really encouraged to come out and celebrate our culture. The same thing happens with Haitians that live in Brooklyn,